Hey guys, welcome to this video which is about most frequently asked Linux interview questions. Okay, so I will be reading out a top 50 questions in front of you, and hopefully I will prepare the answers as well in the next video. But students or people, those who are preparing for Linux interviews and are trying to make Linux as a profession, these 50 questions are mandatory. Basically, in most of the interviews, these 50 questions are asked. Normally, in an interview, you will be asked around 10 to 15 questions, and in those 10 to 15 questions, the interviewer will understand that the person is eligible to work in our company or not. So kindly go to all these questions and try to find answers and try. Basically, I will suggest you try to understand it. And most of the questions you might be knowing, and most of the questions you might not know. So for that case, you can look for any kind of Google website or anything. You can search it on Google and just understand the concept. So let's get started. Basically, the first question is, and it as per my experience, this question has been asked in each and every interview. That is the difference between RHEL 6 and RHEL 7. Basically, as per the current scenario, we are discussing the interview questions. That is, it is 2018, and the most updated version of Red Hat is RHEL 7. Most of the companies are still using RHEL 6, and most of the companies have migrated to RHEL 7. But it is a mandatory question in interview that he will ask you about the difference between RHEL 6 and RHEL 7. The next question would be, what is OS hardening? OS hardening is something related to Linux operating system, and which is about making your system more secure. Okay, so I will just give you just a small brief. You need to note down the questions, and you need to search for those questions and prepare for the interview. I guarantee you, if you know all these 50 questions, no matter you are a fresher or an experienced guy, you will crack the interview 100%, 100% guaranteed. Okay, and the next question is, what is sticky bit? SUID, that is set user ID, set group ID, access control list. And then you will be asked as, what is TCP dump? Why it is used? Basically, TCP dump is used to capture network packets so that it can be analyzed in future, what all network packets are coming on your network. Then you will be asked as, what is a difference between Apache and Tomcat, how it works. So basically, Apache is used for web application, and the language which is used is mostly HTML. And Tomcat is another version which is invented by Apache only, but it is used for a compiled version. That is, it is used for Java. So these both the Apache and Tomcat is used for web applications like healthcare applications, mobile net banking applications. All these applications are running on Apache and Tomcat. What is DRBD? Data replication. Then they will be asking you the port numbers. Do you have any idea about the port numbers? Tell me the port numbers for FTP, SFTP, HTTP, that is Apache, SMTP, that is mail type protocol, sending mail type protocol, which can be postfix, send mail, rsync, DHCP, SSH, SNMP. So you need to be prepared, and not only these port numbers, these are just the examples. They can ask you any kind of protocol port numbers. You need to be prepared when you are going for an interview. You need to study about what kind of services that company provides and what kind of questions they can ask. But these questions which I have given, these 50 questions can mostly these questions can be asked in an interview, so kindly prepare all these questions. I assure you that you will crack the interview. And this is a very favorite question of every interviewer, and it is asked very frequently. That is, what is cluster and what are its services? Cluster, I will give you an example. Cluster is nothing but the collection of nodes, or you can say servers. It is a collection of nodes or servers. What is kernel compilation? Kernel compilation is something, there is a default kernel which has very specific features and all. If you want to compile a kernel, you can take the source from the kernel.org, and you can uh, customize your own kernel. What is a shebang value? And then again, there will be more deep questions they can ask you, that from where and how you will check the system logs. So you should be aware of all these things. Then once error logs are generated and it is forwarded to the concerned team, what additional information you will provide them. And they can ask you what kind of query DNS understand. DNS is nothing but domain name service. It is a name to IP conversion. Basically, domain is, for example, google.com, and the computer doesn't understand google.com. It is for our understanding. Computer understand the IP behind, which is mapped to that domain. So it is, there are thousands and crores, lakhs and crores of domain names we are using. So computer understand the IP behind that. So it is used to convert that name into IP, which is known as domain name system or domain name service. What will you use to view a specific user's 3 days or 4 days, or no matter how many days of back activities? There is a command called ACCT and PSACCT. These are the commands which are used to monitor specific user activities. You will come to know what kind of commands the user have used, and since how long he is active, and uh, such type of details you can see of a user. Like, and they can ask you, if you have 8 core CPU out of which 4 CPUs are in use, what will be the load average, and what are the three numerical fields in top command, which is in the top right corner, what does it indicates? And if in load average all these top right corner three fields are shown as 444, what does that mean? And this is also a very frequent question, and this can be a daily activity as well. That what is patching? Patching is nothing but upgrading your system. There are so many tools. The tool that I know it is BBSA, that is BMC Blade Logic Server Automation. It is used for basically updating your servers. So there is a certain there are certain steps you need to follow to update the servers, and there is a repository in which there might be a dedicated team who will update the repositories with new patches that are available. And by using that tool BBSA, and follow the steps, you can update the server. What is a swap memory? Basically, swap memory is nothing but which is used as a substitute for RAM. For example, your RAM is of 16 GB, and it is overloaded. So your system should not stop. Basically, in that case, it is overloaded, and those files which are overloaded will be shifted to swap memory. In that case, swap memory is used. And then how to reduce load average of the CPU. So these type of questions, and how this can also be a very frequently asked question. How you have monitored servers? Using which tools? There are so many monitoring tools are there. There is Dynatrace is there, performance monitoring tool is, and there is Nagios is there, which is widely used for monitoring the servers. Their health checkups are done using these tools. How they are, what is the CPU usage, what is the memory utilization, all these things can be easily monitored using these tools. Then they will be asking you difference between snapshot revert and snapshot backup. What is a quorum in cluster, and why is fencing used in Red Hat cluster? There are different types of services used in Red Hat clusters. So these are the services which are among those services. And what is audit logging? Difference between slash bin and slash sbin files. And what will you see in device directory, dev directory? What is a umask value? What umask value does root and a normal user contains? So all this type of questions are very frequently asked. So I would recommend you to prepare all these 50 questions in order to crack the interview. If you know the in and out of all these 50 questions, I assure you that practically telling that mostly within 2 to 3 interviews, if you are a fresher you will take around 3 to 4 interviews, and if you are an experienced guy, it will be just in the first interview you can clear with this all this question. And it can be asked as what is run level. Run level is also a question which is asked mostly. What is startup script? Why is sudo command used? Sudo command is basically nothing but giving root privileges to a normal user. So in that case, we need to just add the normal user in the wheel, and there will be some limited privileges of which he can access as a root, behaving as a root user. Then 10 tar files are downloaded, and how can you extract one single file in any directory? So these are very deep questions. When the interviewer will start with basic question, then later on he will start asking you this type of questions just to analyze and understand whether this candidate is eligible to work in our company or not. Then what is multipathing? This is also a very frequently asked question. Multipathing is nothing but something is used, the paths used, one or more paths is used. Then how to do LUN mapping, which then again they can ask you which type of storage you have used in your previous company. If you are an experienced guy and you have shown some sort of experience, they can ask you that what kind of storage you have used. So you should be aware. If you are an experienced guy, it is not a big deal. You can just go on internet and you can just look for the storage devices. There it is, storage devices like SAN, that is storage area network. It can be of IBM. There are so many companies. You can just go on internet and check. And how to use OpenLDAP for centralized authentication. See, basically, OpenLDAP is nothing but a protocol. Mostly in the companies they are using Active Directory. Active Directory, most of the people knows, and if some of you don't know about Active Directory or OpenLDAP, basically it is something that if a user logs in the system, all his credentials are saved in a database. So whenever a user logs in with the username or password, so the all the credentials are safely saved in some kind of database. So with the help of Linux we can use OpenLDAP, and with the help of Windows, Active Directory is mostly used. Explain about assembling and handling. This is also a very frequently asked question. And if it is about RHL 6, he will ask you about IP tables, and if it's about RHL 7, they will ask you about firewalls. So firewalls and IP tables are nothing but a kind of wall which will allow or deny any other IP or IP to come into your system. It is used for that. And how Samba works. Samba is basically used for sharing the files, and how it is used. And what is network bonding and teaming? Bonding and teaming are both same concepts. Bonding was used in RHL 6 and teaming is used in RHL 7. Basically, these terms are used for interface high availability, redundancy on for interface on which your IP is configured. And what is XIND and TCP wrapper? What is KVM or virtualization? What is grub boot configuration? And you can be asked as what is the difference between a TCP and UDP? This is also a very frequently asked question. So guys, just note down where I say that it is frequently asked. You need to prepare that questions thoroughly. Okay. Also, I would like to tell you, if you are a Linux guy, you should be having networking knowledge as well, that is required, because that is a kind of add-on which makes the interviewer consider you as an eligible candidate. That the guy is well equipped with Linux knowledge as well as networking. So which includes this kind of question like what is IP routing, HA, that is high availability, and load balancers, why they are used. Then you can be asked as different types of raids, which is the best raid you can use. Uh, then a difference between load average and CPU usage. And also you can be asked as if a system has crashed, and KDUM file is basically, I will give you a brief idea about KDUM. KDUM is nothing but for so no for whatever reason your system has crashed, okay, and you want to know that what all files were running and what all processes were running at that particular time. So there is a KDUM file which is generated if you have configured KDUM in your system. So with the help of that file, you can make out what kind of files and what type of processes were running at that particular time. And what is inode number, or difference between inode and PID, what type of commands you have used for network troubleshooting. As I already told you that being a Linux admin, you should be aware about networking as well. So just go through some basic networking commands which will help you in the interview. That's 100% guaranteed. And difference between FDisk and LVM. FDisk is nothing but to create partitions in your drive. LVM is something which is known as logical volume management. Basically, there is a difference between standard partition and LVM partition. A standard partition cannot be increased or reduced, but if it is an LVM, it can be reduced or increased. So just keep these short descriptions about these terms in your mind, and kindly and hopefully I will be putting a next video which has all the answers in details. Uh, there, yeah, you can be asked what precautions would you take before reducing an LVM, and that the precaution is like you need before reducing or before doing any changes, you need to take the backup. So this is what the interviewer would be, just thinking a type of answer to receive from you. He might be expecting something like, yeah, I will be taking the backup, then I'll be making any changes. So this can be a little tricky, so that the interviewer comes to know that yes, this guy knows something and he can work in my firm. So you need to be prepared for that. So then you can, yeah, this is also a question which can be asked you. How to execute cron job? Explain the fields used in it. Basically, there are certain six fields used in cron job. Cron job is nothing but a kind of automation that you need to set the you can run the scripts, or you can do it. You don't need to go and manually put that. You can just set the cron job, and like every day people are putting everyday jobs that is required to be done. So we will just put in cron, and it will be executed automatically without going into system and typing it. It will be completed automatically. Then when you create a user, a normal user, what all files are modified? So this brings us to the last question. Okay, so basically, guys, just thoroughly go through all these questions. Search on internet, or whatever resources you are getting. Just search for these questions, and before going to interview, be prepared, and just in whichever company you are going, just study about that company, what all services they are providing, what all questions they can ask you, and just prepare yourself so much that try to crack the interview in the very first attempt. Okay, so that's all from my side, guys. All the best for your interviews, and hopefully I will be uploading more and more videos. Kindly just if you feel that this video is helpful, kindly just like the video, subscribe the video, and also if you want, you can share this videos for with your friends and whoever who is looking as a Linux to be as a profession. Okay, so thank you.